Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 192 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan in the onesie. Yet again, here we got Stoner. We've got Cricket joining us here as well. Of course, that's Trev, probably still with his friend, the Cricket. We got to name him. Is it just Jiminy? Is it
no,
just
we got to be more clever than that. We got things
more clever than that.
You know who it is?
Who is the Stoner?
It's Himiny.
Himiny.
Oh, it's Himiny Cricket.
I like that.
Yeah. Lots of fun to be had here on this episode. Of course, it's following in the heels of Monday Night Madness, the coming out party for one Jayden Daniels. Fantastic. That is going to be what we're going to be talking about here in the warm-up. In the cool down, it's the desert heat. It's going to be our takes on how the Washington Commanders are going to fare up against those Arizona Cardinals on the road. And then it's Kliff's revenge in the game. Some more of that Arizona talk, but this time it's going to be coming from our pals over at the Bleav in Cardinals. And those two gentlemen are Ed Smith and Javon Adams. Will be joining us there for the game. So you're going to want to stick around for the entire episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. I unfortunately won't be sticking around for the entire episode. I've got some family stuff I've got to bail on. And this will be the last time you see on me on a Wednesday show for a month.
What?
So just
what
a heads up. I am, I'll be taking pictures of the onesies as much as we're winning, and I'll be doing our Ask Nathan content as well during the day. But then evenings, I have my show to do. So I appreciate everybody who jumped on late last time and was congratulating me on the lead role that I got. It's Mr. Manningham and Angel Street as the lead male role in that play. And it's going to be taking up a lot of time. So, but I will be back in the end of October. So don't worry, Stoner and Cricket here have you covered on all your Washington Commanders content. And to include, I got to ship them a onesie. We got to make sure we get them a onesie whenever Washington wins. Oh,
what
my
will the
goodness,
record be?
Gents.
What will the record be when you come back on the first note?
Ooh, that is a great question. How many? I'm going to miss, what is that? Arizona. Hold on. Let me pull up the schedule.
Yeah, so you'll miss Arizona, Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ravens, and the Panthers and the Bears. That's 5 games.
Yeah.
5 games. What will the record be when Nathan Perry returned to Ref the District flagship programs? That is a question.
7-1.
7-1.
7-1. Until we find out otherwise, that's for certain. Right. Yeah.
I like it.
That's good. Let's talk about this first win, and we'll pause it. We'll put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that one here in a little bit. But let's talk about the Commanders' 38-33 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Jayden Daniels, 21 of 23 for 254 yards, 2 tutties in the air, 1 on the ground. He had more touchdowns than he had incompletions. Speaking about on the ground, he carried the ball 12 times for 39 yards. We all thought Brian Robinson was going to get the rock and do some damage. He carried it 16 times for 33 yards. Austin Eckler left with a concussion, but not before he did damage himself. 3 carries, 35 yards. And 1, Terry McLaurin, who Trev says is not a wide receiver 1, had 4 catches on 6 targets, 100 yards even, and a tutty. Great game there. Washington underdogs. And most people would have bet that they were going to lose by double-digit points. But you would have known better if you would have head over to Bet Online and used the code Bleav to get yourself some free money over there. Bet Online would have had all your up-to-date stats, would have told you exactly what's going. If you had that Terry McLaurin anytime touchdown, you were celebrating twice over by the end of it. And you could have done that with Bet Online. Use the code Bleav, BLEAV. Get yourself some free money as you're doing some NFL betting, and then head on over to their casinos where they have 150 different slot games, blackjack, some cards, all that over at Bet Online, where the game starts. Gents, this game, fantastic. Oh, my Lord. I was through the moon. I did have rehearsal, and I rushed back, was catching up to the game, got to the live part, and was losing my dang on mind. Jazzy, EP, had to yell at me. The kids are sleeping, and I'm watching it in the main house. I didn't come out to the shed. I'm watching the main house, and she was just like, they're sleeping. It's like, it didn't matter to me. Yeah. It did not matter. It was just too good to be true. Gentlemen, I'm sorry. I'm going to let you talk here soon. I swear to God.
You're fine.
I'm going to just fast forward towards the end. All right. There was the false start penalties.
Yeah.
It was like a second and forever, right? I think it was
Second and 21.
Second and 21. And for the first time and forever, I just knew we were picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
That is how good that night went for the
Yeah.
Washington Commanders. It was just, you had that feeling. Trev, you are one of the most excitable people, probably the most excitable person here on Ref the District. What was going through your mind on Monday night?
Our offense was impeccable. We looked like an NFL team on prime time. You know what I'm saying? It looked like we belonged on Monday Night Football. It really did. We'll get to the defense because that's still a question mark. But as far as a whole team, the offense can overlook that because we came out with the W and we beat a respectable team that's AFC Championship caliber, Super Bowl one time, I think, or something like that. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They got some studs over there. They got some studs on defense too. And we just never quit. We looked in control. We looked like we had a game plan for most of the game. We executed. When those penalties started happening, I was like, it's in Washington fashion for us to shoot ourselves in the foot and kind of, give this game away or make it closer than it was. I don't really count the 33. That was garbage time. Everybody was gassed by then. It was too late to make it a game. So I still think we won 38 to 26. But it is what it is. 38-33 is cool. I'm just very, very impressed. I'm very, very impressed with Jayden Daniels. I'm very impressed for Kliff Kingsbury dialing up a long shot. I'm impressed for Terry McLaurin having the trust and the recognition of defenses to know that he can win that route. He said he lines up on the left side the whole game. He decided to line up on the right, who Dax Hill hadn't seen much of him all game, so he said he knew he could win. It was just a gutsy game. We didn't punt. We didn't turn the ball over. We were fundamentally sound up until those last two penalties under 2 minutes or whatever it was. It was just
those are the first two penalties of the game for Washington.
It was just, special teams. Eckler with that return. That's 2 weeks now. He's had
with
huge
the holding.
returns. I know, like he's icing his hands now, taking care of his body. All these holds he's got to do. Guys, we put up 38 points on Monday Night Football on the road in the jungle. A huge win. I think it's a statement win. I think it's, hey, we're semi for real. I know it's only week 3. We still got a long way to go, but I don't remember starting out like this. Even last year we were 2-0. It was like, how are we 2-0 when we were 2-0? It's like now we're 2-1. It's like, oh, I know how we're 2-1. I see it.
Yeah,
because we're getting better each game. First game, Bucks, you could tell there was some rust on the wheels. Preseason snaps was in play, whatever. You could tell. Second game, we could drive the ball downfield, just couldn't finish. Third game, we drove the ball downfield and we finished. So we're progressing each game so far, and it's something you wanted to see and something I didn't think we would see, to be honest, with all the hype going on. So I'm very, very happy, very pleased with what we put on the field for Monday night for the whole world to see.
Man, I have a ton of thoughts, and Trev hit on some great points there as he was going through all that. But man, I have just so many thoughts because we didn't have an instant reaction, right? So because of that, we didn't get to kind of get it all out of our system, and I haven't been able to get it out of my system. But there's just so much to talk about. And for those who are in there and they're talking about the defense, look, we'll talk about the defense, but later. Right now, we're praising what the offense did and the team did as a whole to win 38-33. And gentlemen, I have been on this earth for 55 years. I've been either playing or watching football for 50 of those years, right? Respectively, probably right around that many years. I think, and I racked my brain, I Bleav that what I watched on Monday night was the best quarterbacked game I've ever seen in my life. Now, there have been better quarterbacked games. I'm not saying it's not out there, but what I've witnessed in watching a game, that is the best quarterbacked game. And I've watched a lot of Tom Brady games, and he's phenomenal, and I'm not putting him up there in that territory. But from what I've seen, that's the best quarterback game I've ever seen. I've watched the game 3 times now. Right? I keep going back and watching it, and my wife keeps saying, again? And I say, yeah, I want to watch it again because it's so impressive what he did. And I was trying to pick up these nuances of things that he did wrong. Maybe something small. I swear I couldn't find anything. His entire game from start to finish was perfect. He did everything right, and he did everything that you would want your quarterback to do. He threw the ball from the pocket. He stood in the pocket as long as he needed to at times. He got out when he needed to. When he was running the read option, he made the right calls when he gave it to the running back and when he kept the ball. He was throwing on the run. He was throwing downfield. He was throwing ropes. He was throwing arching, beautiful, deep arching. He did everything right. I couldn't find a single flaw in that game. And that's what impressed me so much about what Jayden Daniels did. It's going to be hard for him to keep doing that game after game. But what I saw absolutely blew my mind. 2 incompletions, both of them were to Terry, and both were basically throwaways because the pressure had gotten to him.
Yeah, and so I didn't want to stop you in your flow there, but I did want to correct you. That one incompletion to Terry that was just outside the end zone where Terry just like dove into the camera person. That was a mistake. Okay, that one he panicked. It was a cover 0 blitz. He panicked. He was falling backwards and he just threw it. He did the right thing in the sense that he threw it where no one was going to catch it.
Yeah.
But he didn't give Terry a chance. He didn't give the team a chance. He was just bailing on the play and launched it.
That was the right move.
What's that?
That was the right move for that situation.
It was the right move to make sure. It was the right idea to make sure no one was going to catch it, but he didn't even give Terry a chance to catch it.
Yeah.
Terry had his guy beat. He could have had another outstanding thing. Now, here's the thing, Stoner. 8 minutes later, Cincinnati calls a cover 0 blitz again, similar down and distant or similar distance to the end zone as that previous one. This time, Jayden does stand in the pocket and delivers an absolute dime to Terry McLaurin in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
And so that to me is more impressive than, as you're saying, is not making a mistake. The fact that he saw that he was looking on the sideline on those Microsoft Surfaces that the NFL has. He sees that and he's just like, okay, I chickened out. I just bailed on it. I was fading back and I shouldn't have done that. I can hit my guy, Terry. McLaurin asked for the ball. JD was just like, I can get it to the man, stood in the pocket, delivered. 8 minutes later, he changed how he reacted that. And that is impressive.
It absolutely is. All of that's impressive.
He threw it up in the middle of Terry's route. Terry did a double move, and Terry was executing the double move when the ball was coming out. So he put it up there high enough and far enough so Terry could run under it, and it was just
anticipation.
10%. Next Gen Stats said that pass had 10% chance of being complete. That's a veteran throw. I don't care what anybody says. That's
perfect.
Just a veteran
it's so
throw.
Fantastic. As Metaphor says, that was no dime. That was a dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah.
Metaphor, one of our fantastic people in the chat. We do stream live here every Wednesday on YouTube and Facebook at 7:30 Eastern. We've got Meta, we got Michael, Trey, TJ, Locked on Law, Real Deal. We got Coach in here. We got Roger, Trey, JG, Todd, Poppy in the house. We appreciate everybody. Luis had a great one earlier that I had shared when we're talking about how great Jayden Daniels was. He slid, guys. And it was a fantastic. He got the first down and he slid, and it almost felt like he was doing that like in the face. Like that was such a moxie move to call out from one of the other ones. So
and some of the other things I also wanted to bring up about it is on some of his runs, he took a few good shots, right? He took like running back type shots that are
not
running
like
back.
De'Ami Brown took, but he took some.
But he's tough. He's fast, obviously. He's quick. He's nimble. If you remember the one where he almost got sacked and he just did a little dance on the sideline.
Yep.
And then just spun out of ahead 2 yards. The time that he had the play where he was running the read option and he kept it, and there was a dude right in front of him, and he broke the dude's ankles. And I think that was the slide. That might have been the slide that he executed right after that.
It was,
yeah. Filthy. It was so
and all of those things combined, again, this is exactly, if you were to build the perfect game for a quarterback and what you need out of your quarterback, that was it, because he did it all. He anticipated some throws, that throw to Luke McCaffrey on their first 4th down conversion, where he had that little window at first, and he held it for that split second to wait for McCaffrey to clear that window and get himself open, and then hit him perfectly in stride, by the way, allowing McCaffrey to get some yards after catch, right? That was an unbelievable play. He had plays where he was getting the ball out quick. That throw to Noah Brown, that low throw, and I think Aikman even said, he threw it a little low. If he didn't throw it low, that linebacker was there to take that, and he knew that, and that's why he threw it low, and he trusted his guy, Noah Brown, to go down and get it. That was a great throw. All of his throws were perfect. There wasn't a turnover-worthy throw, anything. All of his throws were perfect. And I think it was a little bit vindicated in that I said, look, if they get a short yardage situation, whether it's a 4th down and 4 or less, or they get down on the goal line, they're making it, right? Because of that read option and his ability to first know whether to hand it off or keep it. And then when he does keep it, you can't stop him. That first play after the 55-yard pass to Terry down to the 3-yard line or wherever it was, 3 or 2, and he ran that read option, and it was a walk-in touchdown because he executed it perfectly. There's no limit to the possibilities of what Jayden Daniels can do with this offense. Time will tell. Defenses are going to adjust. They're going to play him differently as they get more tape on him. They're going to watch this game. These defensive coaches are smart. They're going to watch this game, and they're going to make adjustments to the defense, and Jayden's going to have to adjust to that.
Well, I felt
but he
like
has it right here, right?
Yeah.
He has this here. That's more important maybe than anything.
So to that point, Stoner, this felt like Cincinnati's defensive coach is a good defensive coach.
Absolutely.
Okay. They held
Well-respected.
Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey to some low numbers. They still lost, but they did a good job against Kansas City. They came in here with a game plan, and that was make Jayden Daniels beat us in the air.
That's right.
They held Washington 32 carries to 108 yards at a paltry 3.4 yards a carry. Okay. There was the longest run was the 24-yard run by Eckler. Outside of that, they did their job. They're like, we're not going to get beat on the ground because they were getting beat. And we thought that was the path to victory was Washington just needs to ground pound it and do that. Cincinnati said, no, you're going to have to put this ball in the air. And then Jayden Daniels did that. It's absolutely insane to me that he had that line, 21 of 23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, took 2 sacks for only 6 yards, and he had a quarterback rating of 141. You see worse stats that get that the 154, the perfect rating there. Now, he did have a QBR, the ESPN stat of 93, and he had a PFF score in the 90s as well. All right. So most metrics are going to tell you that he was just outstanding, unbelievable. And he wasn't the only one. We talked a little bit about, of course, Terry McLaurin was on his game. That first big pass that he beat the guy who talked about it being a college offense, Britt. And then, of course, the touchdown catch was, 10%, as Cricket had mentioned by Next Gen Stats. Like, unbelievable. Luke McCaffrey making plays. You had McNichols on the TD for Terry McLaurin blowing up a linebacker.
Yes.
Absolutely demolishing him.
Yeah, he did.
And it was a little disappointing, too, calling out Dan Orlovsky when he was showing that play and talking all about it and everything. And he kept saying that was Eckler. Oh, that was driving me crazy. I was like, oh,
me too.
Eckler. Nobody cares, right, outside of Washington, but it was just like, we see that and we care. And I wanted to mention one other thing because I know we have guests coming up, and I've been kind of talking a lot, and Cricket hasn't had a lot of chance to talk here.
No, you're good.
But the Kliff Kingsbury offense that he ran in this particular game, and again, I went back and watched it 3 times, a total of 3 times, right? And I watched it. They ran 57 plays on offense. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not sure they had the same formation twice out of those 57 plays. I'm sure they did. I don't think they have 57 different variations of it, right? But you never knew what was going to happen on a play. The defense is trying to figure out what Washington is going to do, and you can't based on formations and based on the personnel that are in there, right? Because there was one play where all 3 tight ends were in the game, all on one side of the ball. 1, 2, 3. Ertz, Bates, and Sinnott, right? All 3 of them on the left side of the ball. You're running left, correct? Yeah. No, they threw right. They threw a quick one to Terry McLaurin. If I'm defense, I'm going, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. You brought in 3 tight ends, and you're throwing the ball on the opposite end. And that's what Kliff Kingsbury was doing all night long. When you say an offensive coordinator is in his bag, people kind of tend to think of that as being, they were running flea flickers and reverses and jet sweeps and all this other fancy stuff. But that's not what he was doing. The formations were everywhere. I charted the first half, run, pass, right? What they were doing. They had one time where they actually passed 3 times in a row, but otherwise they never ran or passed more than twice in a row. The formations were all over the place. Noah Brown caught passes. Ertz caught passes. Eckler caught passes. McLaurin caught passes. McCaffrey caught passes. De'Ami Brown caught passes. All 3 running backs ran the ball. Jayden ran it, threw it deep, left, right. Mostly he was right, but left, middle, right. It was a masterful performance by Kliff Kingsbury as well, and we have to give him his props for what he's done at least these last couple of weeks, especially this week.
Yeah, real deal here with the CBS Sports stat here. CBS Sports said having 13 straight drives ending in a score was a 1 in 1.7 million odds.
Yeah.
The fact that we haven't seen a punt, the only time we've had a drive not end in a score was the kneel downs for, was it 14 drives? How many drives are we up to now?
It is 14 in a row, not including the kneel downs. There's 3 kneel downs in there.
All right. Everybody at Trev is asking about this, so I'm going to pitch this to you here. Poppy and several others want to know our thoughts on the offensive line play. 2 sacks. I think there was only 8 pressures total on Monday night. And they have a guy, Hendrickson, who's a real deal, who did end up getting one of those sacks. Yeah. What was your thoughts on the offensive line on Monday night?
We're starting to gel. It's looked way better since game 1. We didn't commit a penalty until the last, 3 minutes of the game. It was offensive line issues. But other than that, we created pockets for Jayden. We created a little bit of a hole for BRob to at least get going, but linebackers came up and stopped his run game. Like I said, you allowed 2 sacks, 8 pressures. That's good offensive line play, and we have not seen that in God knows how long in Washington. I know there's still question marks about Andrew Wiley. He's just Mr. Inconsistent to me. I think he played a pretty good game this game on Monday. Then you got BDash, or Badass as we call him, and Allegretti. They're starting to gel right there at the center and left guard spot. You got Brandon Coleman coming in, just dogging Trey Henderson on that one play.
Oh, looking so good.
Our left tackles are pretty good. You got Trent Scott catching a touchdown pass, by the way, great. Didn't see coming at all.
No.
And if
love
you get
the
a
big man
celebration. You get a big man touchdown in the NFL game, your offense is doing something right where you can pull.
Actually, I saw that in training camp. I saw the
Trent said they run it like
I saw it, and I think I even commented on one of our shows about it. It was just interesting.
I mean, it's just
poor guy didn't get to keep his first touchdown pass though, because it also happened to be Jayden Daniels' first touchdown pass.
Offensive line is just honing in on the details and getting consistently better each week as each week goes. It's starting to have some continuity on there. Yeah.
I wanted to caution on the offensive line. Okay. The offensive line is not getting looked at right now because of what Jayden Daniels is doing and what the offense is doing. Look, there's still some serious issues with the offensive line, but Kingsbury and Quinn are doing what we've always asked them to do, the coaches anyway, is mask those deficiencies. And that's what they're doing. When Jayden Daniels is taking deep drops, he's either got max protection or the running backs and tight ends are chipping those outside guys. Okay, so they're doing what it takes in order to protect Jayden Daniels back there and not have him standing back there like a statue a la Sam Howell last year. They're having a lot of quick plays. They're still throwing a lot of screens. They're running the ball plenty. There's going to be some issues coming up with the offensive line if they don't continue to call plays like they have.
Yeah, and so, but that's the thing we talked about, Stoner, was that the offensive line doesn't have to be a top 5 unit, right?
That's
they just have to be
100%.
serviceable, and there's more that goes into the offensive line than individual play. It's the reason why Wiley doesn't have to be concerned for everybody, because as long as Kliff Kingsbury's play calling and Jayden Daniels' play are above par, then you can have some subpar linemen. I mean, you can't have the guy be a turnstile, right? But I don't think Wiley is a turnstile. Even last year, he wasn't. He was just getting beat on a regular basis, but not like every down, right? Like he could hold his own. And I think that just goes to show again how people were a little too critical of the offensive line last year. And there was some worry this year if Jayden Daniels is holding on the ball, like we saw Sam Howell do, then yeah, there was going to be some issues, but they know how to call the offense, and Jayden Daniels is making some smart decisions, getting the ball out. So, some good things happening here. PNW Trout Slayer. Yeah. We found our kicker. How great was it that we lined up for a 40-yard kick, 42-yard kick, and it goes in, right? And much needed, right? I mean, we're talking a 1-score game. Yeah. And you still 1 score, but now it's a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. I mean, that was key, right? Now, because before was you get a touchdown, they've got the lead. Now you made sure that you could, at worst, you're going to be a tie game when you get the ball back. Yep. Fantastic right there. Trey, who is wide receiver 2 and 3, real quick here, because we're going to be shifting over to our Cardinals stuff here. I would say Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey in that order.
That'll work.
I think at this point they are.
Yeah, that'll work.
They are, but Dan Quinn has said all along
we don't have one.
It's not. They don't do that, right? It's by committee, and it's going to go who's ever hot, and who's ever playing well, and who's ever practicing well. That's who's going to get those reps. But you're right. I think Noah Brown has really, really proven himself here. And this was a guy out on the streets, right? Houston just let him go, put him out on the streets, and Washington snapped him up. And he's proving to be valuable so far in the first couple of years.
Sure. Oh, yes.
All right. Like I said, we're going to have a guest coming on. Again, I'm not going to be here for that. I got to step out for family reasons. You'll see me after Washington is 7-1. We're beating the Cardinals. You heard it here first from Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. We got Stoner and Cricket going to be here for our guest because we have Ed Smith from the Bleav in Cardinals joining us here on Ref the District.
Oh, I gotta move all these things around, and Nathan's doing all. Welcome, Ed Smith from the Bleav in Cardinals. We appreciate you coming by here on Ref the District. What's up, brother?
Hey, good to be on with you, gentlemen, and hopefully you guys don't beat on us too bad this week. You guys look really good the other night.
Did you get a chance to watch the entire Monday night game and that virtuoso performance by Jayden Daniels?
I did, and it was, I'll tell you what, as far as the rookie quarterbacks go, Jayden looks to be at the top of the list in terms of poise and what his future might look like. I know Caleb, he's making all the noise over in Chicago in terms of, that's supposed to be their dynasty quarterback, but I'll be doggone if Jayden doesn't look the part a little better right now.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So let's get into this a little bit, Ed. First of all, we appreciate you coming by and talk to us about the Cardinals. We know you got to get out of here fairly quickly. Your son's got a a football game. Surprise, shocker, right? You're a big football family. We all know that. And so we want to talk a little bit about this game upcoming in Arizona on Sunday. It's 4:05 our time. I guess that's what, 1 o'clock, 1:05 your time there in Arizona. Give us a little overview of the Cardinals and what you have seen so far in these first 3 weeks.
Well, first off, always I appreciate you guys having me on. Our Cardinals are still almost like a work in progress. I'm still trying to figure them out, and I think because you guys got a chance to see a little more during your preseason with a rookie quarterback, we went the exact opposite here. Kyler never stepped on the field on the preseason, even though he had Marvin Harrison Jr., fresh out of college, and we have a team that could have used the work. Really didn't get anything done during the preseason. So I talk to Jay, my radio partner, all the time about the first month for us now has become more like preseason. We're just getting everybody a chance to see everybody.
Yeah.
They're getting to know each other on the field. We obviously, first week we go up to Buffalo, right out the box. Buffalo was stunned because they didn't know what to expect from the Cardinals. They ended up getting control of that game, winning it. The next week, we had the Rams in here like a mass unit. We jump on top of them early, beat the mess out of them, and then all of a sudden, according to everybody here in town, we're going to the Super Bowl because we beat the Rams, 40-something or whatever.
Right.
And then finally, I'm still being asked the question, what are the Cardinals? I'm still trying to figure out their identity myself. We had a team last week we played against in the Lions. We know their identity. They got away from it a little bit the week before playing against Tampa at their house and started all of a sudden they wanted golf throwing the ball all over the place. Nah, they are a downhill running team, smash you in the mouth, golf play action, throw in the mid, maybe 25 times a game. They came in with their formula and pretty much just put it on us. 43 rushes, 182 yards, then, the offensively, we never really got started. Once again, we start running the ball a little bit, fade away from that, and then we got Kyler, in pistol most of the game.
Yeah,
not defining our running game. Then our passing game becomes sideline to sideline. So I'm still trying to figure it out. If we're going to use this same formula, it's going to be a long, long season. We'll see what they do when they get Kyler under center a little more. Maybe throw the ball vertically down the field to Marvin Harrison. But, with the second-year crew in here, meaning our coaching staff, they're still trying to figure out what the Cardinals are, just like I am and most fans.
So outside of Marvin Harrison, who else should the Washington Commanders fear on offense? Because our defense is pretty shaky. We seem to let anybody with the name of whatever their name is do whatever they want with us on defense. Somehow we're 2-1. So outside of the obvious Marvin Harrison, who else is an offensive threat for you guys? And Kyler Murray and his legs, obviously.
Yeah, Kyler is the biggest. If you don't stop him, he can make things magically happen out there. For me, our biggest offensive weapon that we tend to not use is James Conner. And, I know it revolves around Kyler because he's got a great arm, and then you got the flashy wide receiver out there. In my opinion, this is a team that should be leaning on the run as hard as anybody because it would then take the pressure off of Kyler having to play the Superman role. We tend to, as soon as we figure out this run didn't work and that one didn't work, we just got to go to throwing the ball. I saw something earlier today that even shocked me. In the fourth quarter of the game against Detroit, in a game we were only down 23-10 at the time. That was a halftime score. Our defense held them, or I should say 20-10, held them scoreless in the second half. We only managed 3 points in the second half ourselves, but in 18 plays in the fourth quarter, we did not run the ball once. And that to me just is shocking. When I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? But that's what we do here. We abandon the run with, James Conner should be toting that rock minimum 20 to 25 times downhill with Kyler under center, and then you would know his name and fear him a little bit more than you do.
Yeah.
Because we don't do that, Kyler is the first name you think of. A rookie, Marvin Harrison, is the second. And we don't have the horses outside necessarily. And Jay will tell you, we don't have the horses outside where we think we want to drop back and throw the ball, 20 and 30 times in a quarter and not lean on the run at all. But that's what we tend to do. And that's why, we're sitting here scratching our heads trying to figure out what this new staff is thinking, But like I said, I'm not. They're obviously not listening to us tell them because they keep doing the same thing over and over.
Ed don't know how to ride a horse.
Uh-oh. If you hear that voice, if you're listening on audio now, that's Javon Adams has joined us here, Ed's partner with the Bleav in Cardinals show. And of course, if you're watching here on YouTube or Facebook, you see him, and make sure you hit a like or subscribe to us and also to the Bleav in Cardinals show as well. Thanks for jumping on with us as well, Javon. Let me ask you this question here, and we've had a lot of talk, obviously, before you guys came on, because this is our first time to do our show since the Monday Night Football game. But a lot of people are comparing Jayden Daniels to Lamar Jackson, to Josh Allen, and to Kyler Murray. So let me ask you, who do you think right now, today, who is more talented? Is Kyler Murray or is Jayden Daniels a more talented quarterback overall?
Wow. Let me take that one, Ed. I would say Kyler, but there's a caveat because again, it's a small sample size with Jayden Daniels, but I say this to Ed, since I'm from Southern California and I lived a few years in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino. I know that area. So, but the point is that it's interesting how when you have the maybe more of the weapons that maybe a Jayden Daniels has because Kyler and Jayden, they share the same offensive coordinator, for lack of a better term. Sure. And it's interesting to see maybe what you learn after when you have your first go round, and maybe you can try to improve upon that. But I think, and Ed has mentioned this, is that Kyler he's a little thicker than Jayden Daniels is. And so you worry, and then Lamar is more muscular than Jayden Daniels is. And so that there's the concern there with how he might try to really use his legs in such a way that will try to benefit the team, and how well will he be able to hold up once he takes that big hit. And we talked about that on one of the podcasts that we do today, and Ed mentioned that's a concern because that hit will come, and how will that happen? But I would say that Kyler is a little bit better, but I Bleav Jayden is taller than Kyler, and Ed has said over the last few weeks the Arizona Cardinals got to realize they got a short quarterback. And try to make sure they play call accordingly.
So your defense, I want to talk about now. I feel like the only person I know on your defense is Budda Baker. One, is he past his prime? Is he still somebody that we should game plan for on the defensive side? And two, outside of him, I see you guys lost a defensive lineman due to a knee injury. He's going to be out for the rest of the season, I think. How is the defense in Arizona? Are there studs? Are they duds? Or is it still a work in progress?
Yeah, I'm gonna make Ed shut up real quick. I'm gonna jump on this one, my brother.
Go ahead, take it.
So the thing with Budda Baker, I think he's not past his prime. I think he can still be one of the best players on a defensive unit. As he's proven to be when the Cardinals, even under Kliff Kingsbury, when they were going to the playoffs, right? But there are a lot of no names on this defense, and so there is no pass rusher. And even the gentleman that went out today on the IR, it would be out with Bleav it was a quadricep. I mean with the triceps, something like that. So he hadn't really impacted the game in that way anyway, but we've had some injuries on the defensive where pass rushers are concerned, and that we couldn't afford to lose those players to begin with. And so when you talk about Darius Robinson, et cetera, but and I'll let Ed he talks about, maybe what the philosophy is in terms of what where the defense is, but I think they're not bad. I think the culture is good, and they're going. Maybe this is where we're at in terms of as an organization, but they're never going to quit. They're going to keep trying. And I'll let Ed give his thoughts on like what the philosophy of the defense is.
Well, even we lost Justin Jones to that bicep, who's out. And I was going to say, in order, even Jay and I have to go through our sheet just to see who some of these guys are, where they went to school. You know, we don't have what you would call like drop dead talent on our roster. On either side of the ball, you take Kyler out of this, Marvin Harrison, who we just drafted, and James Conner, and then you say Buda Baker, then you and maybe Zaven Collins. Those are 5 names that we know. The rest of them, it's like, where's the program? We got to figure out who these guys even are.
That's
and
right.
with saying that, we're not a team that's going to line up and match up against most teams in this league, meaning we don't have enough talent on our roster to say, man to man, we're going to go out here and beat you. We have to beat you with scheme and just straight up, aggressiveness. You know, if we don't do everything right, if we don't do everything we're supposed to do as a team, most instances we're not going to really beat you. So last week against Detroit, they ran the ball at will against us 43 times. They realized what they had to do to win the game. Didn't even pay. The score was only a 10-point game, and they felt like they had control of it from start to finish. And that's what we're going to kind of have to deal with from time to time during this season. And in saying that with our defense, it's seriously, I hate to use the term because it's overused a lot of times, bend, don't break. If we break at all in any positions or have any type of mishaps, we can't overcome that type of thing. So as far as you and looking out for us defensively, if you hear Buda Baker's name too many times, that doesn't mean he's having an outstanding game. That means you guys are getting to our secondary and forcing him to make a lot of plays. So, you know, that's just the kind of where we're at right now. And as Jay said, though, this is a team that's heading in the right direction in terms of getting after it. We just don't have a lot to get after it with.
And does Jonathan Gannon call plays?
No.
Defensively, he doesn't call the defensive play. Okay,
but I'm gonna say this, and I think Gardeck, he's when I'm smiling when I say this, but he's almost like that Duke guy that slaps the floor that would slap the floor in college basketball.
So
but he has a high motor. He has a high motor, and he never stops. But he had an interception last week, and then the week before he had 3 sacks. So he's one of those guys. But then I also think when you look at what Jalen Thompson, I mean, he does some things there, but it is definitely a concern. And I think what I've been hearing so far this week is that expecting kind of almost a shootout because of the deficiencies of on the defensive side of the ball, maybe for both teams.
I think didn't Gardeck last year, maybe you guys can remind me, maybe Trev remembers in that game, I think it was week 2 last year, maybe it was week 1, right? Didn't he have like a sack fumble touchdown against Washington?
Gardeck is sneaky. I would love to have him on my team. I'm a Raiders fan, but on the Cardinals, I like having Gardeck there. But you would like to have somebody. You would love to have Gardeck as that depth player as opposed to the one that's starting all these games. But yeah, he's you got to respect Gardeck.
All right, my turn again. Cool. So what can we expect on Sunday? Like you said, who's calling defensive plays? Is it a new guy? I really don't know too much about Arizona, so I'm still trying to learn him. Is it a new coordinator? I know Gannon's the head coach there, and so yeah, who's calling plays on defensive and offensive side of the ball?
Well, we got Petzing on the offensive side. Coordinator. He came from wasn't that the Colts, Jay? No, Philly.
Yeah, he came from but Nick Rallis is the defensive coordinator. Here's the game against the Rams. I think maybe that's the outlier game, and hopefully that's not the case when it comes to how the season will play out. But I rely on my partner here is that the Cardinals still don't have an identity, because you would have thought that with the way in which they beat the Rams, even though they were coming in wounded, but the wins coming in the NFL, you don't apologize for beating somebody when they come in a little bit gimpy, right? But the thing is that you would have thought that the after such a solid offensive game that they would have come in and really been able to try to build upon that, right? But I think if nothing else went from the defensive side of things, that the Cardinals, we know that they can shut teams out especially in the second half of that Lions game. But what you worry about, and this is one of the things, and I was talking to my oldest son who's a diehard Cardinals fan today. He called me and we were talking about the game. Is that what I worry about is the defense being able to get off the field when it matters. So there were so many of those drives in the second half of the game, while there were no points given up, the drives were able to be extended just enough to be able to run down the clock. And so if a team has a lead, so if you guys get the lead, I'm concerned about them being able to stop, to get off the field if it's a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 12, et cetera, to be able to try to give the ball back to the offense, and hopefully the offense can kind of seal the deal.
Go ahead, Ed. No, do your thing.
I was going to say real quick, this game has the feeling of whoever has the ball last scores and wins.
Yeah.
I don't see a whole lot of defense stoppage out of there. Whoever, this game could be real high scoring. Whoever has it last with enough time on the clock, boom, that's going to win the game.
So take the over is what you're saying. Whatever it is, take the over.
Yes,
but
indeed.
Ed, you were a tight end. Your brother's a tight end. Your nephew is a tight end. Who the heck plays tight end for the Arizona Cardinals right now?
We got Trey McBride. Who last year, he broke out last year when Ertz went down, because he was drafted and he was supposed to be kind of learning from Ertz. Ertz gets hurt early. Try saying that 3 times fast, and then he took over, and Kyler, by the time he got back in lineup, Trey had established himself, and he was a tool for Kyler. Thus, so far this year, they're still trying to figure it out, partly because they went out and got Kyler, the shiny new toy, and Marvin Harrison Jr., and we saw the vitriol he caught from not going to him in the first game. Only 3 targets in Buffalo, right? So what they do, they came out in the Rams game, and I don't care if Kyler had to throw it left-handed, he was going to get Marvin the ball. And the only people in the entire building that must not have got that memo that they were going to throw Marvin the ball was the Rams. So they decided not to. Yeah. So last week it was kind of an average game, but between Marvin Harrison and Trey, there's enough targets, and we hope that Trey gets off this week, because he's actually in the concussion protocol right now. So we'll get more word on him as the week goes by. But he could be a very valuable tool in the middle of that field. And I don't know if you guys have as much trouble with covering tight ends as we do. They can be a nightmare, that's for sure.
Trey is good.
Yeah.
He's good though.
All right, we'll give you Trey.
Yeah, you can have Trey. So you think since Kyler missed all preseason action, has that affected or showed in these first 3 games, or you think he's not skipped a beat, or you think he's still kind of trying to get back to what he once was before the injuries and everything and what got him drafted so high?
I think they're all, he's with new, Marvin Harrison coming here. They took a lateral step in terms of missing an opportunity to work, not just in the offseason, but in the preseason, to get some of the timing and stuff like that down. They are definitely behind the 8 ball a little bit, because they're still trying to figure everything out. Timing, where do you like the ball best? What are your best routes? Real quick, I'll tell you, there's nothing like for a receiver like Marvin Harrison coming into the league. You can have all the joint practices and stuff that you want. You need game time, even preseason game time, to figure out the speed of this game at this level. And that's what Marvin's trying to figure out, along with Kyler at the same time. So they definitely didn't take advantage. I hope moving forward, they take preseason a little more, serious, but the trend is all teams deem it unnecessary, and that just might be the track that we're on moving forward.
All right, let me get you guys out of here on this last question. Ed, I know you got to get to your son's game. Is he a tight end, by the way?
He's playing tight end, and he's also playing safety.
Of course he's a tight end, right? But let's get kind of down to the nitty gritty, and we've evaluated a little bit of this game and talked about it. But let me start with you, Ed, and then we'll go to Javon. But let me ask you, what do you think is the score of the game, and how does it play out?
Oh, that's a good one. I've been battling, going back and forth with this one.
Yeah.
I want to go Cardinals at home, winning this game, but it's going to be a high shooter. This is like a 34-32 game.
All
and
right.
I could be off, but I'm thinking the Cardinals figure out a way to win this one in a shootout. I don't think anybody's stopping anybody. There'll be a lot of field goals and a lot of touchdowns scored on Sunday.
And before you go, Javon, just a little reminder that Washington has scored on 14 consecutive possessions that have not been a kneel down.
Yes.
And our punter has not punted in 2 consecutive games. He has not punted since the 4th quarter of week 1.
Stealing money.
Do you want to change before we go to Javon? Do you want to change your pick there, Ed?
I'm going to stay with it just because I don't even know why, because I'm just going to stay with it.
All right. Javon, what do you got?
I'll go 35-31. And here's the thing. So I was watching the game, the Commanders game. And so while, again, the Commanders are off to a great start, we know that Jayden Daniels is doing his thing, but it just makes me so mad when I see that horizontal game from Kliff Kingsbury. And I wonder if Kliff, when he comes back into that stadium where he was the coach for so many years, is that he's going to say, watch how I'm a wide receiver screen the heck out of this. I'm going to do the horizontal game like they never thought they going to see. But 35-31, I think that the Cardinals defense will do just enough to keep them in the game. If my confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10, it'll probably be about a 7, 6.5, 7. Okay. But I think the Cardinals will come out on top.
All right. We appreciate you guys stopping by here on Ref the District. It's Javon Adams and Ed Smith, EZ from the Bleav in Cardinals podcast. You can check them out anywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks, guys, for coming on. We did it last year. We did it this year. Haven't seen the schedule for next year. Maybe we play the Cardinals again. We'll do it again next year.
Hey, road trip. One of these days, one of us is going to have to go to the other city. So let's get that down.
All right. Cool with me. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take it easy, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's get it back here. Let me do a little branding here. Get back to branding. There we go. All right. That was pretty awesome to have those guys. And a few people were asking, Ed Smith, where did he play? Why does he have Eagles stuff and Falcon stuff? But he did play in the league back in the day. He was on Washington's practice squad for a little bit, but he did play for both the Eagles and the Falcons. I believe won a Super Bowl or went to the Super Bowl with the Falcons. His brother played a long time in the league, Irv Smith. You probably heard of him, and his nephew, Irv Smith Jr. I think just retired this year from the NFL, or maybe he could be still playing.
I think he's hurt, or he's trying to get a tryout. I think he signed with the Texans or something like that. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, I mean he's only 26 years old, but last year he played for Cincinnati and he played 3 years
Texans
with Minnesota. So maybe he will catch on. But let's get back to talk a little bit more about the Commander side of things. Heading into Arizona this week, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time out in Arizona. First, I want to ask you a few things, Trev, that are interesting before we get into specifics. Washington, the organization, and something that would never happen under the previous owner, they went directly from this game against Cincinnati in Cincinnati on Monday night and went directly to Arizona.
Yeah.
They didn't come home and practice and let everybody sleep. They're doing like a road trip, like a bonding trip. What do you and what does everybody here kind of think about them doing this, going out on the road like that for an entire week out in Arizona?
I think it's great. It's showing that this team is building chemistry and a culture that we're no longer doing things on our own. We're doing things collectively as a team. And also Arizona is a different climate than what they played in the past 3 weeks. So they're probably going there early to get adjusted to that weather, get adjusted to the climate out there. So we're going to have a good performance on Sunday. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why it hasn't happened before, and I think it's also because it's a short week. We're probably doing this as well. But I'm a huge fan of it. Get out there, get acclimated, get comfortable. You don't have to worry about flights to there on the weekend, or everything is already ready to go. So you just don't miss a step with practice. It's just you just keep the stride going. So I'm a fan of it.
I like it. I think there is some bonding that happens when you go on road trips. You hear it a lot from these teams that, not in the NFL necessarily, but let's just talk about like baseball and basketball and hockey. They go on these long road trips for weeks at a time sometimes. And they talk about how that bonds a team together when you start winning, of course. But road trips do that. They force you to build chemistry because you don't have your usual distractions of family and just everyday life. And so I like that they're doing this and building this chemistry like that. And of course, now one guy who did not make that trip out to Arizona is Austin Eckler. Yeah. Dan Quinn confirmed today that he's out for this game on Sunday. He's actually back in Virginia now, being evaluated for concussion, a lacerated ear on that play where he got hurt. Do you think that's going to have an impact on the success of the offense that we've seen from the last 2 weeks, not having Austin Eckler in there?
I do, because he's been huge in all aspects of the game. He's been good in pass protection. He's been good in toting the rock when he gets the handoff. He's been great in being a pass catching back out of the backfield. And he's been great in the return game with special teams. And he's also that veteran leader that is needed in the locker room and on the sidelines. I'm not sure if he'll travel for the game at a later date or not, if he just simply stay at home the entire week. But it's a huge loss, production-wise and leadership-wise. It's huge. Not the end of the world, but it's a significant blow to the offense.
I mean, we talked about it, Trev. We talked about before the season even started, and we had this argument with Nathan when we were talking about some of these individual players and their value to this team. And we brought up Austin Eckler, and Nathan was just trying to brush him off and just saying he's good. And we tried to tell him that Austin Eckler is a difference maker.
Yes, he is.
And you take out a difference maker,
it makes a difference.
The defense, it makes a difference. The defense has less to account for, right? They don't have to game plan for him, right? And they don't have to game plan for his backup.
Right.
And his guy, you're going to have Jeremy McNichols come into that role right now as the number 2 running back. And probably Wiley is going to get called up to the 53 for this week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Austin Eckler.
No, it's not.
That's a problem for Washington.
It is a problem. But like you heard the guy said that Detroit, I mean, they have Jahmyr Gibbs and maybe David Montgomery, but they ran the ball 43 times and didn't eclipse 200 yards. No shade to them, but they ran the ball 43 times. So I think this week, if we want to do that, it's going to definitely have to be by committee. The offense is going to look probably a tad different. I mean, you kind of saw it there before Jayden threw that touchdown bomb to Terry in the fourth quarter. The guy, Jeremy McNichols, had no idea what play to run, didn't know how to line up. Luke McCaffrey came out. He didn't know where to line up. So, like, I'll get touch on that. But, like, there was confusion out there, and Jayden just let it rip because he knew he was going to tear no matter what. But you see a change with that. Like, it's confusing. It just kind of tells that we relied and depended on Eckler being there too much, I think, this early on, that the guys behind him don't really know what to do in Eckler's spot when it's their time to shine. But I think that'll change as this week of practice will get in and by the time Sunday gets here. But yeah, I mean, he's just a great offensive weapon that people slept on because of his age and his injury history in LA. They stopped giving the ball in LA. He didn't want to be an everyday down back. He wanted to do what he's doing here in Washington, and you can see why, because it brings success, running the ball or pass catching the ball. So yeah, it's just a huge blow, but I think it's going to be more about running back by committee for real this week if we want to run the ball as much as we do with the 2-headed monster that we have.
Yeah, and as a couple people pointed out here, is maybe they don't miss him as much as on offense as they do on the special teams. 2 weeks ago, he ran one back 98 yards for a touchdown that, of course, was called back. And if they hadn't if he hadn't held on the play, I forget the guy's name, the special teams
Bellor.
ace. Yeah.
Yeah.
If he hadn't held, Austin Eckler is still scoring. It did not affect the play. And then last week, of course, against Cincinnati, he had a huge 62-yard return, 68, whatever it was. I mean, that he's a difference maker. And that's too bad that he's going to be out this week. As you said, McNichols, Wiley, they don't have the sort of talent and production that Eckler is going to bring to this team. So I think they're going to rely heavily on Brian Robinson, in which, by the way, last week I noticed Brian Robinson didn't have the burst that he's had the first couple of weeks. And I don't know if it was injury related. On Monday night, he did not have that burst. He didn't look right to me.
No.
And they didn't feed him as much. Maybe there's something going on there.
Maybe
they didn't feed him, and when they did, he didn't have any burst. So something might be going on there.
He carried the ball 17 last week and 16 this week. So shout out to Kliff for keeping the run honest, but you kind of want to see the run game be up in the 20s, I believe, no matter who's running back or how many you use. I think anything less than 20 is not enough runs in any game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he looked a little slower.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of talk a little bit. Trev, as his name is Cricket on here because of the cricket in the background. If you are just joining us, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And we're going to get into the prediction here and the cool down a little bit later. But there's a lot of new people that weren't here earlier in the show, Trev.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talked all about what happened on Monday night in this offense, what my question to you now is, do you think that this is sustainable? I mean, he's not going to go throw for 90%, complete 90% of his passes, and they're not going to score on every single possession again. But is it sustainable that this offense can continue to be as sharp as they've been in the last couple weeks?
I think so. I mean, so far you've seen it progress in 3 games. And honestly, I didn't think it would be this fast in the production that we've seen with this whole new staff and whole new roster of players that we have. But so far, what you're seeing from Kliff is improvements. And he's kind of backing up what he said. He said last week it's his fault that he's not getting Terry the ball more, scheming up for him. And what happened this week? Terry hits 4 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Could have been 2 if Jayden, we missed him on that first one. But anyways, he did what he said he was going to do. We were fearing that air raid. If this is air raid, then I'm here for it. What he's doing is getting Jayden comfortable. He's getting Jayden a little bit, letting Jayden expand his game a little bit more as each week goes. And he's calling a great game. He's not turning away from any specific way of getting first downs, whether it's running the ball or passing the ball. He's kind of making a balance still. He's giving BRob chances to do it, and he's giving Jayden chances to do what we drafted him for. It's to make plays with his arm and his legs. I love it. He didn't use as many screens as he used in the first 2 games. So it's like Kliff is kind of still figuring out his roster too, not only his own offense, but what players best fit his offense. And he's still currently showing that it's still a work in progress. We're still a little not on the same page when we try to do up tempo. And for some reason, we still look a little out of sorts coming out of timeouts when we have the ball. We still don't know what play to line up with. And that's happened each week of each game this year so far, even though it's only 3. But other than that, I'm loving Kliff. He's being conservative, but also he's taking shots. But he's also getting Jayden comfortable to where Jayden can expand his game more. And he's using everybody on the field that lines up out there. Like you said earlier, all the pass catchers we had. Eckler, I think BRob might have caught a pass out once. Diami, Luke, Terry, Noah, Ertz. I know he tried Ben Sinnott a couple of times maybe. So everybody's getting a chance to make a play when they get the ball, and he's distributing the ball very well. So I do think it's sustainable. It's just I think it's going to expand more and more as Jayden gets more comfortable and as Kliff gets more comfortable with each other and as players. I think it will expand. So I do think it will sustain. Now the 90% is crazy unless he's thinking and dunking for the rest of his year. But I don't see the completion percentage dropping below 75% with Kliff being calling the game he is now and with the talent Jayden Daniels has. I think it'll still be on the positive 75% or higher for Jayden's pass production. So, yeah, so far so good. Shout out Kliff Kingsbury, who doubted him, calling his offense college. Hey, they score points in college too. I mean, it was 70-50 JMU against Carolina last week. So, and we put up 38 with this Kliff Cake offense, 5 touchdowns and a field goal, and that's what you like to see is more touchdowns rather than field goals, but points are points. So, shout out to Kliff for real. I think it's sustainable.
If you weren't here at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that I think this was the best quarterback performance, one game performance that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm older than most people here, so that's kind of saying something. But yeah, I mean, McLaurin had 6 targets, right? And he had the only 2 incompletions were targets to Terry. But McCaffrey had 3, Ertz 5, Noah Brown 3, Eckler 2, Diami 2, BRob 1, and of course Trent Scott had the catch there in the end zone. So he was spreading it around quite a bit on offense. And this is, as I also talked about earlier, that what Kliff Kingsbury is doing, they ran 57 plays against Cincinnati. And this is a little bit of hyperbole, but I don't think I saw the same formation twice. I saw a heavy run formation that was a pass. I saw 5 wide that was a run. I saw intermediate routes. I saw deep routes. I saw the backs and tight ends staying into max protect or chipping. I saw Noah Brown chip on the edge one time. I'm seeing so much different. There was one play, Trev. I don't even know what to call this. Maybe somebody can help me with this. Okay. They had Jayden Daniels was in shotgun. Next to him, like it happens,
was I formation.
Was Brian Robinson, and behind him was what, Eckler? Maybe
I think so. Yeah,
it was an I formation next to him.
Yeah,
I'm like, what is going on here?
It's pretty amazing.
And I saw one time the 3 tight ends were all in the game at the same time on one side. So you think, okay, they're running left, right? I'm a defensive guy. I can use my brain. They obviously want to run to the left because they're basically bringing in 3 big offensive lineman type guys, and they throw right. They throw a quick pass to McLaurin out right. And I'm going, he is throwing so many looks at the defenses. And this is, I mean, Javon said it in the breakdown. He was like, maybe Kliff is going to come in here and continue his horizontal game. And I wanted to just say, he ain't doing that as much as he did.
Not.
He did in the first game.
Oh, my gosh.
It was all sideways, right?
All sideways, yeah. And another thing I noticed, our wide receivers are not running on top of each other. You notice in the past previous offenses, a lot of receivers are in the same general space, but not with Kliff. They lined up bunched, but they're all running completely separate routes to where they each can have space to make a play if the ball comes to them.
Yeah.
Kliff is calling a great game, a great offense so far. And I love the way Jayden Daniels is, let's go, give me the next play. Like, yeah, we got a first down, but I need this next play. Like, let's go. And I like how that dynamic is happening. So shout out Kliff Kingsbury, who's proven us a lot of people here in Washington wrong so far our first 3 weeks.
I'll raise my hand. He's proven me wrong. I was not happy with the hire, well, like a lot of people. But he has absolutely proved me wrong in what he has been doing. And in order to do all these things, Trev, here's something maybe a little subtle that we should not focus on, but acknowledge. Okay. All those different formations, all those different plays, different personnel from everywhere, motion and all this stuff's going on. Jayden Daniels does not wear a wristband. He does not need to have to look at the play and understand what it is. He hears it, he repeats it, and he executes the play. And that is super impressive because a lot of people wear those wristbands with all the plays in it. And I got no problem with that, right?
They're starting to make Caleb wear one now. He didn't wear one the first 2 games. And
probably because he doesn't have a full understanding of the playbook. Not for a lack of trying, but he doesn't have the QB knowledge that Jayden Daniels has. And we heard that right from the beginning when they drafted him and they talked about his football IQ. and his willingness to hit the books and his willingness to come in early and stay late to fully understand this offense. And I think that's something that we should acknowledge with Jayden Daniels, is that he's doing all of this without a wristband of the plays. And it's a complicated offense. Any NFL offense is complicated.
Yes.
But you have Kliff Kingsbury doing all the different things that he's doing. And Jayden Daniels seems to have no problem completely understanding the entire playbook. And I'm super impressed by that.
I mean, telltale, without all the stats, what we just said, all you got to do is look at this stat. We haven't punted in 2 games. If he's calling a good offense or not, that should tell you right there. Yeah, it takes players to execute it, but the play comes from Kliff, and we haven't punted in 2 games. So I think that tells you he's doing a great job being an offensive coordinator. Maybe that's his calling. Maybe he shouldn't try and take it all on being the head coach.
Yeah, exactly. You know, some guys are just good at that.
Yep. So
right, Norv Turner is a great example of that. Norv Turner could call an offense like nobody's business, but as a head coach, just couldn't do that. And there are a lot of guys like that who are just better as a coordinator. They don't have to oversee everything. All right, some other kind of notes. There are some injury report that came out for today's practice, Trev.
Yeah.
Sam Cosmi didn't practice. Of course, Eckler didn't practice. He's not going to play. Zach Ertz didn't practice. His was non-injury related. Let me point that out. Cleveland Farrell didn't practice. Of course, he didn't play last week. And Quan Martin and Benjamin St. Juste were both limited in practice today. Emmanuel Forbes Jr. practiced in full today. So that's interesting to think that he may come back and play in this game against Arizona. Probably. And I'm here for it because I don't know. We have to at some point, Trev, before we kind of get into predictions and all that, we have to talk about the defense.
Oh my gosh.
We have to. We can't just sort of put on our burgundy and gold glasses and not be able to see that there's a problem with this football team. We're all excited. We can't believe what happened on Monday night, but this defense is still a major issue and it's going to cost the team games because Jayden Daniels and this offense can't do what they did on Monday night every week. Exactly. And they need almost every one of those 38 points that they scored to win. He had to have a perfect game. The offense had to score on every possession, 5 touchdowns and a field goal just to squeak by.
Yeah.
That's a problem, Trev. What's going on with the defense?
They're not, Dan Quinn said today, they're not playing fast as they would like to, but they're building on it. And you can just see it on the tape. We're slow to react. Our corners are trash. No matter, I mean, BSJ had a good game last week, but overall, we're getting abused. They're asking Sandistro to do a lot as a rookie coming in, playing nickel. Now they moved him outside this last game a little bit. Linebackers look just a little slow. Luvu's fast. He's everywhere. Wagner has shown flashes. He can be the guy he used to be 2-3 years ago, but for the most part, his age has kind of crept up to him. You can see. Our defensive line is just a joke. It's laughable right now. We're getting gashed on runs. We're getting gashed on trying to pass rush. It's just not there. Deron Payne literally was hugging a guy on Monday night and just let him down. And just couldn't bring him down. And it's kind of weird seeing that from Deron Payne and John Allen. Our ends can't stay healthy. We've had to call up a defensive end every game because it's either Jamin Davis is inactive or Clinton Farrell can't play. So we had to bring in Andre Jones or Carlos Watkins, who's no longer with us now, or just somebody else. That's not good. It's only week 3.
Yeah.
You can see that it feels like the defense is still trying to learn each other. They're still trying to learn each other, still trying to communicate with each other, still trying to build that continuity. Offense is beating them in that race. You can just tell 38 points in week 3 against Cincinnati. So I don't know. I think you got to start looking at the streets. Is this the last week we can do waiver wire? I mean,
it's the last week. that were first or second
First.
on the waiver wire.
Okay. I think you got to start making some calls to the streets, man.
Mm.
There's a lot of quality veterans out there that might be at the end of their prime or might have been past their prime, but they can still lead a locker room. They can make some plays here and there. I think just the presence in the locker room will help with our production on the field if you make some calls to the outside of the streets. Something's got to give. We don't have the depth to bench these guys and bring new guys in. We just don't have that depth. Johnny Newton is just now ramping up to what he was supposed to be when we got him.
Yeah.
He's playing more snaps as it goes along. So it's just we're getting gashed way too easily. Anybody can run on us. Doesn't matter who's back there. And our corners are just, I think, playing too far off. I don't know if they're not getting the scheme. I don't know what's going on. I'm not doubting Joe Witt at all. I think he's calling probably the best scheme, and he wants this defense to be fast and violent. We just don't have the players to do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and I think they are playing fast and violent. I think they're under-talented in certain areas on the defense. But I'm with a couple people in here. JG is one. He's saying that the defense will come around and that we're giving up too early on this defense. Brian is also saying that they're a little bit slower and give it some time. I'm going to give a little bit of hope on this defense for you, Trev, because I did really watch it very closely in the last couple of games, this defense. What Washington is trying to do to these teams is they are trying to not blitz a whole lot, right? They're trying to say that we want our linebackers and our safeties to be up close and to make the tackles. Here's the problem. Bobby Wagner, for all of his knowledge of the game, is a step slow. And I've noticed it a lot that he knows where to go. He is on his way there. He's not there in time, and it's too late. I've also noticed that Jeremy Chin also knows where to go. He is getting there in time, and he's not making tackles. So that has to fix itself somehow. I don't know the answer on exactly how to fix it, but I don't think it is as problematic as we're seeing right now. I'm not saying that this is going to be a really good defense, because what Joe Witt seems to be doing is saying we're only going to rush 4 guys and we're going to count on the rest of the guys back there to make the plays. And the problem is they're not making plays. And so he has to switch that up because those 4 guys are also not getting home, right? They're not getting the pressure that they need. Joe Burrow's a different cat. He's going to, if you watch this game, they did, and I know people don't like to hear this, they did a ton of max protecting Joe Burrow. A ton of it, to where they had sometimes only 2 receivers going out and everybody else was blocking, and then they would have their dump off guy, the guy just in case. I forget the term off the top of my head right now, right? Check down. Thank you, Trev.
Yeah.
And then they'd have their check down. And Joe Burrow is so good at watching what's going on out there that he knew that Jamar and T. Higgins were double covered with safeties, and he's going to his check down. And that's why Moss and Chase Brown were getting a lot of targets, especially early. And the minute Washington brought Quan Martin up into the box or brought Jeremy Chin into the box, Joe Burrow is easily recognizing that I got one-on-one with Jamar Chase. I'm going over the top. Not every quarterback can do that. And I'm telling you right now, who can't do that? Kyler Murray can't do that. And they did it against the Giants. And all they did against the Giants, the defensively, they did the same thing. All the Giants did was say, I'm going to throw it to Malik Neighbors 18 times. I'm going to throw it to him whether he's open or not. And that's what they did. And Malik Neighbors almost beat Washington doing just that. So if you don't have a Joe Burrow And if you don't have a Malik Neighbors or a combination of something like that, I think this Washington defense can handle that. And I think that they're going to be able to handle Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray is not the type of guy. We know this from everything we hear out of Arizona. Remember they almost had to give him an incentive to study the playbook or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. He's not a guy that's going to beat you by understanding the defense that you're running. He's going to beat you with his talent, right? Yes. His arm talent, his leg talent. But that's not a consistent way to win games. So that's how I think they're going to be able to beat Arizona this week, is to not get away from the double teams on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
And bring Quan Martin up into the box, or Percy Butler or Jeremy Chin, whoever it's going to be, to stop the run, to keep Kyler Murray from scrambling all over the place, and hope that you can make the tackles and not let guys out of your grasp like Daron Payne. I think there's hope for this defense, Trev. I'm not saying hope in terms of being a very good defense, right? But I don't think they're going to give up 33 and 28 or whatever it is that they've been giving up every week.
I'm just scared when Kyler Murray gets out into space. We don't have the secondary help or the second level help to contain him. I see what you're saying. I think that we could if we brought some people in the box like Quan and Jeremy Chin, but as far as our linebackers go, Bobby Wagner is not what he used to be.
He's not.
Frankie Louvu is our fastest linebacker, so that's what scares me the most. If we do bring pressure, it's going to be a first down for Kyler's legs probably 80% of the time, because our second level is just not it unless you do bring down those safeties. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of defensive look Joe Witt's going to put out there for that reason. Because if Marvin's doubled and Trey McBride is covered, there's really no one else to go to, I guess. So Kyler's going to use his legs, and he's watched our defense previously about how anybody can just run all over us. I'm scared for that.
Yeah.
But if he's gonna break some loose. Like, it's just given. It's Kyler Murray. He's gonna do some magic. He is. But like you said, if we slow it down and keep forcing pressure up the middle, maybe we make him make a mistake. He just keeps running around, and throws a pick or fumbles, whatever. So I like your philosophy. I'm just scared once he gets past to that second level. What's gonna happen.
100%. There is reason to be scared about that, but if you get a chance, if anybody here gets a chance, go and watch the game again and watch the running plays that Cincinnati ran. And they had a lot of plays where it got good yards, right? Yeah. And what you'll see consistently, they're not running at Frankie Louvu. They are running at Bobby Wagner. Okay. And when you double team on a run, which happens pretty much every play, when you run, you're going to double on Payne or Allen or whatever, and you're going to have a hole because they're not as good as we hope that they would be. I don't think they suck. I don't think they're a waste of money, all those other things. Right. But they're not as good as we hoped that they would be at this point. But it's the job of that linebacker to be in that hole.
Yeah.
And Bobby Wagner is not getting to that hole in time. And if he does, those plays are not going for 8, 9, 11 yards like they did against Cincinnati.
Right.
They're going for 3 yards.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. Yes.
And that's what's happening in Washington right now. I believe it's correctable, Trev. I truly Bleav that this defense is correctable. A lot of the plays last week, if you remember, especially in the first half, to Wan'Dale Robinson and to Malik Neighbors, where they were playing off and Daniel Jones was dumping it and Michael Davis was coming up and then he misses the tackle. I mean, I think that happened 3 times in the first half. And then he got yanked and we may never see him again.
I'm about to say, he didn't play any snaps Monday, did he?
He didn't get any snaps. And what they did is they put Sanders still on the outside, which is not his specialty, but he's probably their second best outside corner. And they put our Just a Jag guy on the inside in the slot. Noah Igbenagbani.
Yep, there you go.
Igbenagba Jag or whatever, just to
Yeah.
check. And actually, I thought he played pretty well.
He did.
He was one of those guys who was flying around. He was getting to the ball fast, and he was making some nice hits. And so this may continue that he's going to play the slot and Sanders still on the outside. Clean up some of those missed tackles and get those sacks that you're supposed to get.
Yes.
And you're going to start seeing the opposing punter every once in a while.
I Bleav it. I feel like that is our biggest deficiency on defense is tackling.
I think that's the number one problem is tackling.
It's unreal to me how that is and how that's happening with professional football players. I mean, yes, I've heard missed tackles before, but like I said, Daron Payne was literally hugging the running back.
Yeah.
And
I think he ended up getting 13 yards on that play, man.
Yeah, man. He brought it back around and scampered up the side. Yeah, it was just so that's just suspect to see. And it's really disappointing to see that, especially coming from Daron Payne. And Jonathan Allen, I know they're getting double teamed, but that man, his name is not being called for anything.
Yeah.
I noticed his body language in the locker room when Quinn was doing the speech. He doesn't even look like he wants to be there.
Great. Yeah.
It's not great. And I know he's been on the air saying that he's happy Dan Quinn's here and the competitive brings him practice and he's playing a defense. Well, he's happy about it, but his body language on candid body language is not saying the same thing his mouth is saying. Like I said, I know they're getting double teamed, but you're Jonathan Allen. You're top 15 defensive lineman in the league for a reason. You're the 54th best player by your peers for a reason, and you haven't seen it yet. And that just worries me a lot. That are they just not on board? Are they just not giving it their all? Like it's just a really big question mark with those two. Now who knows? Maybe they'll turn it on as the game gets on, as the season goes on. But
yeah, I think if you have somebody was asking what's going on with the crickets, I think Jim was asking here why the cricket noises. Well, that's why he's got his name, because he's got a cricket right outside his door, so we call him Cricket now instead of Trev. Until the cricket's dead or summer comes, I don't know what's going to happen. We may have the cricket forever, but
he might.
But yeah, I think the tackling has been an issue. I think I agree with you that I'm getting more and more disappointed in Jonathan Allen in his production, right? He's got to pick that up. But look, Johnny Newton is ramping up his plays. I don't remember how many he had this week. I can look real quick.
I think he had 21. I think he had
21 defensive snaps, right? And
more than Jamin Davis.
Yeah, more than Jamin Davis, right? And Washington is employing a lot of 3 defensive tackles in their 4 down linemen, because you know what, the ends aren't getting it done either. Armstrong and Fowler and Farrell up until he didn't play this week, but they've been a little bit disappointing on the defensive line. That's their first pick next year is going to be a cornerback. Their second round pick is probably going to be a cornerback, and then their third and fourth and fifth round picks are going to be edge rushers, probably.
Yes, for sure. It's kind of funny that I know we give Jamin Davis a hard time, but his game is that sideline to sideline speed. So I think it's pretty interesting that they have to make a spot for him with defensive end.
Yeah, when
he could probably handle those sidelines better than Wagner. You don't need to play Wagner every snap on defense. Maybe just on rundowns or whatever. But I think if you have Jamin and Lulu in there on these passing downs or whatever, their speed, I think you have a better chance of containing Kyler Murray like that than you do with Wagner and Lulu. So that's just my opinion. Maybe you switch things up. Maybe you get Jamin back to where he's comfortable instead of using him for 15 snaps at defensive end.
Yeah,
that just doesn't sit. It's a head scratcher. It's like, if you didn't want him, then why'd you keep him? If you didn't want him to play as much, why'd you keep him? And also, if you wanted him to switch position, why isn't he getting more than 15 snaps?
Yeah,
I mean, you saw what he did the first week at that position. He stopped the run like 4 or 5 yards behind the handoff.
Sure,
it was beautiful. And you saw in previous seasons, he's got that sideline to sideline speed. He didn't miss a lot of tackles when he made tackles playing that spot.
True.
So I look for maybe they should switch that up. I don't know if that'll affect the whole defense that way, but if you want to keep Jamin Davis and give that man a chance to show what he can do, you got to play him more than 15 snaps.
True, but the one thing I think this coaching staff has shown is that they don't play any sort of favorites kind of game, right? They don't just because I drafted this guy or I signed this guy that I'm going to continue to put him out there time and time again, or the opposite for guys who are not their draft picks or whatever. They will go into a practice for the week. They will see who's playing the best and who's not, and that's who's going to play. Regardless of any sort of mind games or status within the league, they're not gonna do that unless you make a lot of money. You want to get your money back on certain guys. But look, if Jamin Davis didn't have a good week of practice or the matchup is not right for him, whatever, he's going to be inactive, right? Or Mike Davis is going to start one week, and the next week he's not going to play a down, and it's not because of him.
But he'll be active, exactly. And
they're not going to play around, Trev.
Do you see Defoe coming active at all? Or do you think he's going to be just riding it out, being inactive for the majority?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think they like what they have at safety right now. Everybody didn't like Percy Butler, but I think he's playing fairly well. These safeties are not as bad, except for Jeremy Chin in tackling.
Right.
He's had a lot of struggles just tackling, just simple tackling.
And teams really haven't so far beat us over the top like that, to where the safeties have to drop back and play safety.
Yeah.
It's just beating our corners. Our corners are atrocious. And once they see that, it's like when they threw that touchdown in the first quarter of the Bengals game, 7-0, I was like, here we go. About to be a blowout.
Yeah,
we might score a couple times, but it's going to be Jamar Chase show all night. But the defense, they had the bend, don't break mentality. We were lucky enough that he missed a field goal, but then we held him to a couple more field goals. We bend a lot, but we didn't break. And that's what you like to see. Now, if we just keep bending and bending more, where we get them out of field goal position, that would be good. So I'm not giving up on defense yet.
Yeah, don't.
We just got to tackle. And once we get that down, then maybe we can start playing actual defense and learning the techniques better and communicating better. But so far, it's just missed tackles.
Yeah, don't sleep on this fact here, Trev.
Okay.
After this game, Jordan McGee is eligible to become active.
Bro, now, I forgot all about Jordan McGee.
Here's the problem. Problem. Where is he going to play?
Bobby Wagner spot.
I don't think that's one thing I don't think they're going to do.
Decrease Bobby Wagner snaps.
Bench him, but
I don't think you'll bench him, but you got to decrease his workload a little bit. The man's up there. He's focused on being an NFL owner after his NFL career, so he's already looking past this, I believe. I'm really still kind of confused why he chose to come here. I really did not see that coming. I'm still surprised by that every time I see him suit up. But, yeah, decrease his workload. He's a veteran. He's a Hall of Famer. He doesn't need to prove anything this year. He just needs to be that veteran leadership and that veteran presence. Decrease his workload. Get Jordan McGee some run in there. Bring Bobby in when you know Bobby can shine. I don't know. It's just – but something's got to give because he's contributing to that missed tackle effect too. He's kind of like a John Bostic.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of that. It might be a little bit of
Bostic was a good tackler when he tackled, but he was always a step or two too late to make that tackle.
I have seen clear signs that Bobby Wagner has lost a step. He knows where to be. He knows what's happening. He just can't get there in time to make the stop that he needs to make. And
also,
that's the problem.
We got to force some turnovers.
Yeah.
I know we forced one last week with BSJ, but we just got to get quarterback pressure. It's kind of embarrassing when our 7th round rookie or whatever round he was drafted in,
7th round,
John Baptiste from Notre Dame, comes right in. He plays how many, like 8, but less than 10 snaps.
Yeah.
And gets a sack. And when you got veterans out there with Dorrance Armstrong and I know they don't play in, but Payne and Allen, that's concerning to me.
Yeah.
Like I know double teams is a thing, but like, come on, guys,
Do something.
Something's got to give.
Yep, don't sleep that Jordan McGee is going to be back, or he's going to be eligible to be back after this week against Arizona. And don't sleep on Don't Sleep, because Don't Sleep Energy Drink is a fantastic company here in the DMV that supports us, and we support them. If you get a chance, go out to don'tsleepenergy.com and check them out. Check out their website, what they have. They've got energy drinks like so. Don't Sleep energy drinks, right? They've got these shots, these energy shots as well. They've got great swag. They're a great company here. Like I said, they are a local company, and we love supporting them as they support Ref the District. So I want to make sure everybody knows all about that. And we're going to come back here for the cool down. We don't have much time left, but we want to get into specifics for the game and exactly what needs to happen to beat Arizona and how we're going to do that. We're going to do that here in the cool down when we come back. All right, welcome back to the cool down here on Ref the District, episode number 192. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate everybody who has been in here and just lighten up the chat room. We appreciate all of you all in doing so. And let's get to specifics, Trev, and what it's going to take to beat the Arizona Cardinals. Are you concerned about a letdown after an emotional, incredible game where Jayden announced his presence to the NFL world and said, I'm here and Washington is back and we're going to be a team to be reckoned with? Are you worried about a letdown going out to Arizona this week?
A little bit, but not to the point where we lose the game. I think it won't be quite as pinpoint and as cut and clean as it was this last game. We might see some rookie mistakes out of Jayden. I'm not wishing it on him, even though I said he's going to throw some picks this week and he didn't. But I just feel like if he does, it's going to be self-inflicted wounds if we do see a letdown. I don't think Arizona has a team to come out and outright beat us, especially on the defensive side. So if it is a letdown, it'll be self-inflicted. But I have like maybe a 10% chance of that happening, or seeing that happening. I feel like we've hit our stride and we're going to keep striding along because you can only go up from here. I mean, you can go worse, but and the self-inflicted wounds might be Austin Eckler being out and McNichols taking his role. It might be BRob, if he is gimpy or not, maybe not running as hard as he has the first 2 weeks. It may be Terry has some drops. We might see Luke have some drops, or Diami might be getting the ball more than usual and getting some drops. So I don't know, and maybe more penalties. I don't know, but other than that, I don't see us losing that big of a stride against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I kind of look at big picture, and it usually goes one of two ways. Not obviously, but it usually goes one of two ways. When a team has this big emotional win, like Washington did, and everybody's talking about it. You've heard every NFL pundit, just about everyone, just amazed at what Jayden Daniels did. Aaron Rodgers talked about him. Of course, McAfee, Mike Greenberg on ESPN. Give me some of the other folks. I mean, Orlovsky.
A.J. Watt had said it. Orlovsky said it. Ryan Clark said it. RG3 said it. Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football said it. Like,
Scott
everybody's
Van Pelt
saying it.
Yes. About. I mean,
yeah, he had a conversation with the man. So, like,
yeah. So
everyone is.
So when something like that happens, usually you either go on a roll, like a big time roll, like you win 6 out of 7, something like that, or you just have this big flop, and then everybody realizes, oh, as good as he is, he's not going to have those kind of games every week. And oh, by the way, did you forget this defense is not good? And that's why you're losing a lot of these games. So I'm not sure yet where I think this is going to go, but we've got to make our predictions. So we want to hear everybody's predictions now as we get into this game. And what you think is going to happen in this game, the score, and how we get there. So, Trev, I'm going to start with you. I want you to give me what you think the score is going to be and how it gets to that point.
All right. Judging by the nobodies that were mentioned by the two guys in the Bleav Cardinals podcast said on their defensive side of the ball, I think we put up points again. I really do. I think it's going to be 34-20. I think it'll be a fairly close game up until the fourth quarter, and I think that's how we win by 2 touchdowns. We'll just put it on them. Defense will be gassed for the Cardinals because of our offensive production. So I think 34-20. It might be a little sloppy in the beginning. It is a second road game in a row, but I think that traveling straight from Cincy to Arizona is going to help with that 2-game road, on the road game stretch. So, 34-20. Commanders take the lead in the fourth quarter after having a bit of a shootout and a defensive shootout too with the Cardinals early in the first 3 quarters.
Okay, I like it. I'm not sure that at this point this defense can hold any NFL offense to under 21 points, but we'll see what happens. I like the vibe of this team right now. They're 2-1 this year. They were 2-1 last year, but in a completely
I was going to say it feels different. Yes,
because last year, if you remember, games 1 and 2 were Arizona and Denver, 2 bad teams, and we knew they were bad teams at the time, and we squeaked by on both games. Then we had all this talk about statement game, right? We're going to find out where this team is. And then we went into Buffalo and got smacked around. And we found out, right?
Yeah.
And then it went downhill from there.
Right.
Up with 4 wins total on the year after going 2-0, by the way. We need to find out. I don't think we ever heard. Has any team ever done that? Gone 2-0 and then 2 and the rest of the year?
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible. But this year, their 2-1 record is a loss in game 1 against a really good team, a win against a not good team. But this win that they had this past week in Cincinnati on the road, Monday Night Football, and what this offense did is better than any win they had last year. Right? They had Arizona, Denver, New England. Who else did they beat last year? Do you remember?
The Commanders. I think we beat ourselves a couple games.
Right? 100%.
I don't even know.
I'm trying to rack my brain. I remember New England was one. We didn't beat the Giants. We didn't beat the Cowboys. We didn't beat the Eagles. Did we beat the Eagles? We didn't beat the Eagles. Who is the game? Atlanta. Brian is jumping in here with Atlanta.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
When was that the game that Mariota threw the interception at the goal line to Kendall Fuller, I believe?
Yes. We squeaked by that one.
Squeaked by.
Yeah, I agree. This 2-1 is way better because, like you said, we squeaked by those wins. This year, we're progressing as we get to 2-1. Literally. Yeah, we lost game 1, but it was like we were just bad on both sides of the ball. Game 2, we were better on offense, still about the same on defense, just couldn't cash in. Last week on Monday, we got much better efficient offense. Our defense played somewhat better than what it did the first 2 weeks, even though we allowed 33 points. One was a garbage time and whatever, but it's progressing. So I think that's why it feels different. I think that's why the vibe you have is because you see the trend that we're doing each week, whether we win or lose, we're getting better on at least one aspect of the football. So that's why it feels different.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I like that. How you put that is that they've gotten better each game, and that's an important part of a team becoming a better team is that they're showing improvement each week. Now you can't continue always going this way. At some point you're going to have bumps in the road, and I'm still not ready to come off of my 7-win prediction because I just have some. Look, they played a perfect game on offense last week. I saw somebody in here earlier. I'm gonna find it real quick. That said here you go, right here, is that VA all day. Oh, Virginia, maybe Virginia. Yeah, okay. It was one game, but Jayden's stats weren't off the chart. Why can't he replicate that week in and week out? His stats were off the chart. They were absolutely off the chart. It was almost a perfect game for Jayden Daniels offensively, and he can't do that week to week. Nobody can. No, it's why you look at all of the records that he set in this game, in that he's had, what was the stat about they scored on every possession in 2 straight games. Jayden Daniels run offense. He's done it twice in 3 games, and the combination of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers have done it twice, all their careers combined.
Over 1,000 starts, yep.
And he did it in 2 of the first 3 games. That's not sustainable. I'm not saying he's going to suck. I'm just saying he can't have a 90 PFF grade, a 91% completion percentage, a 93 QBR and a 147 quarterback rating. That's not sustainable. But what we have seen is that we've seen this continued improvement week to week. And so that's going to help this team, but the defense is still a major problem. I think they go out to Arizona, and I think they play well offensively. I think they actually play well defensively as well. I can't see this team 3-1, Trev. I mean, it's stupid at this point for me to say that they can't beat Arizona, because I don't know, Trev. I'm really struggling with this. I'm really struggling. It is the Cardinals. I get it. Man. I get it. But,
come on.
All right. I'm going to predict that Washington wins the game.
Thank you.
And I'm going to predict that they win 28-27.
Oh.
But I would like the right that on our instant reaction after the game on Sunday, make sure you tune in right about 7:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon / evening. I reserve the right to be able to say, I knew they weren't going to win. I should have picked Arizona to win this game.
No, you cannot do that. It's different, bro. We beat the Giants. We haven't done that in a long time. And now
I know, but we barely
the Bengals in the jungle.
Yeah. That was their best win probably since the game they beat Philly 2 years ago. Was that Heineke took a knee on a scramble, and then somebody hit him kind of after the whistle or whatever, and
that was Eagle. Yeah. So you take away Kyler, you take away Marvin. That's it, bro.
Okay, but they may not be able to do that. You can say that's what you got to do. Yeah.
I don't know I see what you're saying, but come on, it's the Cardinals.
Okay, but look, let's stay positive. Let's stay optimistic about this team. It was a win that we haven't had around here in a long time. And even that win against Philadelphia, which was fun to kind of brag about because you beat, I think Philly at the time might have been like 10-1 or something like that, right?
Yeah, they were undefeated, I think.
But we knew that team wasn't going anywhere either, right? Mm-hmm. But the reason that win was so big against Cincinnati is that you have what we talked about on episode number 1 of Ref the District, is that you have hope. And you have hope that you've got your quarterback, that you've got your head coach, that you've got your GM all in place, and that we can see sustained winning over the next few years.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping for. And we haven't had that in a long, long time. Probably since 2012 was the last time that we've had that sort of hope.
Right.
And we've got that now, Trev.
I'm with you on that. And you can start to feel it after 3 weeks. Yeah, it's only 3 weeks, but you can start to feel it. Things are different. Yeah. Like I said, we look like we belong to play on Monday night. Whereas in the past, we get blown out on prime time.
Oh yeah,
all the time. So it's definitely trending in the direction that we were hoping it was. Just didn't know it would happen this fast, to be honest. And if we do lose, we'll still be 500. I won't be upset. I'll be upset because it's the Cardinals if they flat out beat us, but I won't be upset because we're 2-2. We are what we are what the record says. Brand new team, brand new coach, brand new front office, brand new quarterback. Like, it's a lot of new stuff here. I know we keep pounding in the ground, but it's legit the truth. That's what it is. It's brand new here, and we're looking like we belong. So,
I kind of said last week that I would have been okay to lose this Cincinnati game as long as we saw what you talked about, Trev, is that progression of the quarterback, right? Because that's what this season is all about. This entire season is not about wins and losses per se. You still try to win every single game, but it's all about the development of Jayden Daniels. And I think the same holds true for this week against Arizona. He can't possibly go higher than what he did this week, but he can still show improvement in certain areas and kind of maintain a certain level. That's all I need. If we go out and we lose because the defense is horrible, I'll still be pretty much okay with it as long as I see that development of Jayden continue.
Pretty much.
That's what this whole season is about. So I'm looking forward to that, to watching them on Sunday afternoon, 4:05 Eastern here if you are in the Eastern time zone, 1:05 out there in Arizona. If you're going to the game, I know some people who are here are going to the game. Again, we appreciate everybody who has been in here. We've talked all about this week's game. We talked about last week's game against Cincinnati, the arrival of Jayden Daniels onto the national stage. He's him. I know I said Sam Howell was him. I'm an idiot sometimes, right? I got caught up in the Sam Howell hysteria a little bit because it just happens sometimes. But I don't think there's any doubt that Jayden Daniels is the franchise quarterback, and we can start to look to improve in other areas. So appreciate everybody who is here talking and doing all their stuff. Make sure that you join us on Sunday evening at about 7:30 p.m. when we'll have our instant reaction of the Arizona against Washington game. Monday, Nathan's going to have his mailbag segments. Make sure you send in your questions following the game. And you can always hit us up, of course, on Twitter at Ref the District, here on YouTube and Facebook at Ref the District as well. Trev, it's been an interesting week this week, talking about Cincinnati and looking towards Arizona. Do you have any kind of sort of final thoughts on this team and what you hope to see this weekend, or what you even saw just last week?
I want to see the same thing we saw Monday. I want to see the offense drive down the field. I don't want to see Tressway punting. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but hopefully less than 5 times would be ideal. And I want to see more touchdowns. But for the defense, I want our defense to get off the field on 3rd down. I want our defense to be locked down and force Kyler Murray to make mistakes, get him flustered. I want our defense to be the better side of the ball than the offense this week. I still want offense, and I'm not saying offense can slouch out.
You don't want the offense coming down to the defense's level. You want the defense to raise up.
Yes, exactly. I want it to be a well-rounded game on all 3 parts of the ball: special teams, offense, and defense. So far, it's been offense and special teams. Now we need a defense to come on up there and join the club, so we have something to talk about in a positive light, instant reaction, and on Wednesday, rather than the same old thing has been all 3 weeks. Is our defense sucks. So
all right,
I need defense to step it up.
Awesome. Thanks to everybody who's here. Mike, Jared, JG was in the house. Brian, of course, Rockman, Uptown Dre, Ray, Poppy was here. Reginald, Charles, Coach Lombard was in the house. Nathan, Lockdown Law, of course, is always here. Just B327 was in. Everybody, if we didn't get you, Polo Styles, Charles, Mike Lee, of course, was in the house. So if we didn't get to your name, that doesn't mean we weren't checking you out, and appreciate you being here. Make sure you spread the word about Ref the District. And Trev, until next time,
Kliff is bringing his revenge.
Love it. Be a fan.